The gym was almost empty when the story began, just a few tired students packing up their bags. The sound of punching bags still swinging, and the smell of sweat hanging in the air. In that quiet hour, nobody expected drama. Nobody expected history. But history walked in wearing a black belt and a proud smile. His name was Darren Cole, a regional karate champion. Known in the city for his speed, his precision, and his ego that sometimes walked a little faster than him. People respected his skill, but they also whispered behind his back, "He always wants attention." That evening, Darren wanted attention again. But he went looking for the wrong person. On the far side of the gym, pushing a mop slowly across the floor, was Marcus Rhea, a tall black janitor with calm eyes, quiet steps, and a face that looked like it had seen storms no one talked about. Most people passed him without noticing. Others treated him like furniture. But Marcus never argued, never complained, never demanded respect. He just worked. Silent. But tonight, Darren saw him dot, and for some unknown reason, maybe boredom, maybe ego, maybe fate, Darren walked toward the janitor and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Hey, big man. Want a spar? You know. For fun?" The room froze. Two students stopped zipping their bags. The coach looked up slowly. Even Marcus paused his mop mid-stroke. Nobody knew what Darren was thinking. Marcus was older, probably late 40s. He never trained there. He never talked about martial arts. He never even raised his voice. A sparring match between them made no sense. Marcus blinked once and replied softly, "Why me?" Darren smirked. "Because you look strong. And I like a challenge." The students exchanged nervous smiles. A black belt challenging a janitor? For fun? This felt wrong. It felt disrespectful. But Darren leaned into it. "Come on, man. Light sparring. I promise I won't hit too hard." The last line made everyone hold their breath, because Marcus smiled, not a big smile. Just a small one. A dangerous one. Marcus leaned the mop against the wall and said, "Okay, but I won't promise the same." The gym erupted in gasps. Coach tried to intervene. "Darren, stop this." But Darren was already walking to the mat, waving a hand toward Marcus as if calling a kid to recess. Marcus walked calmly, quietly, as if he had done this 1,000 times. He didn't stretch. He didn't talk. He didn't even put on gloves. He simply removed his janitor jacket, folded it neatly, and stepped barefoot onto the mat. His stance wasn't a stance. It looked relaxed, casual, like he was waiting for a bus. But something in his eyes changed. The few students watching whispered, "Does he actually know how to fight? Bro, this is gonna be bad. Darren's gonna knock him out." Darren bowed like a showman. But Marcus did not bow back. Another shock. The coach frowned. The room grew tense. The air felt heavier, like a storm before lightning. Darren rushed in first, quick jab to test the janitor. Marcus didn't block. He didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He simply tilted his head. And the punch missed by an inch. Gasps again. Darren tried another jab. Marcus swayed. A kick. Marcus shifted his weight. A fast combo. Marcus stepped aside like water moving around a stone. Not one hit landed. Darren's smile faded. Marcus finally spoke. "You said spar for fun. So why are you trying to hit me for real?" His voice was calm. Too calm. The students' eyes widened. The coach whispered, "Oh no." Because at that moment, everyone realized something terrifying. Marcus wasn't avoiding the punches. He was reading them. Like he had seen all of this before. And then Marcus lifted his hands for the first time, not to defend, not to strike, just to begin. And the real shock was seconds away. For a long moment, the gym stayed silent. Nobody breathed. Nobody blinked. It felt like the whole room was holding itself still, waiting to see what the quiet janitor, this man everyone thought they knew, would do next. Darren circled Marcus, faster now. His black belt swayed with each step, his breathing getting louder, heavier. His confidence was no longer confidence, it was frustration hiding under a smile. Marcus? Marcus looked like he was waiting for the microwave to finish. Then it happened. Darren lunged with a spinning kick, fast enough to scare new students, strong enough to drop most fighters. Marcus didn't dodge. He stepped into it. The room gasped. But before Darren's kick could land, Marcus placed one single finger on Darren's leg and redirected the strike like it was nothing more than a child's wild swing. The kick flew past Marcus and Darren stumbled forward, shocked. One of the students whispered, "Bro, he didn't block, he moved the kick." Another said, "What kind of technique was that?" Marcus didn't answer. He simply said, "Stop using strength. It's making you weak." That line shook Darren to his bones. He attacked again, now fully serious. Punch after punch, kick after kick. His feet slapped the mat. His breath hissed. His knuckles cut the air. But Marcus? He moved like time was slower for him, like Darren was fighting underwater. A jab came toward Marcus's face. Marcus tapped Darren's wrist with 2 fingers. The jab collapsed sideways. A kick aimed at Marcus's ribs. He stepped 1 inch. The kick missed everything. A fast combo from every angle. Marcus swayed, stepped, tilted, turned. Never rushing. Never striking. Never even breathing hard. Darren stopped, panting, sweat dripping from his chin. Who taught you this?" he asked. Marcus didn't answer the question. Instead, he asked one of his own, "Do you like hurting people? Or do you just like being seen?" The gym went dead silent. Darren froze. The students' eyes widened, because that question wasn't random. It was personal. Like Marcus could see through Darren's chest, past the muscles, past the black belt, straight into his pride. "Shut up," Darren muttered. Marcus took 1 slow step forward. Everyone stepped back, even those just watching. "You fight loud," Marcus said softly. "But your heart fights scared." Those words punched harder than any kick Darren had thrown. He roared in anger and charged forward with everything he had, a full-force attack. The kind people save for tournaments, not friendly spars. But this time, Marcus moved. Not to dodge. Not to redirect. He struck. It was a simple palm tap to Darren's chest. Barely a touch. But Darren flew backward like someone had yanked him with ropes. He hit the mat, rolled once, and came to a stop with wide, confused eyes. The room erupted in shouts. "What was that? Bro, did he use chi? No way. No way a janitor just did that. Coach, who is he?" Even the coach had no words. Darren scrambled to his feet, stunned. That wasn't a normal strike. Nobody hits like that. Marcus simply said, "You asked me to spar. I accepted." His calmness made it even worse. Darren didn't step forward again. His legs refused. His hands shook. His confidence cracked. But Marcus wasn't done. He looked directly into Darren's eyes and said the words that made the whole room freeze. "If I hit you for real, you wouldn't get up." A chilling silence spread across the gym. Students stared at Marcus like he was a ghost, like he was someone legendary pretending to be ordinary. Darren whispered, "Just, who are you?" Marcus turned away, as if the fight bored him now. But before he stepped off the mat, he left everyone with a sentence that would haunt them until the next day. "I cleaned floors because I chose peace. Don't make me show you the life I walked away from." And with that, Marcus walked off the mat. But the truth, the real truth, was about to come out in front of everyone, and it would shake the gym. Forever. The gym felt colder after Marcus stepped off the mat. The students whispered, like they were afraid the walls might hear them. Darren stood frozen in place, black belt tied around his waist, pride cracked wide open, hands shaking like he had touched a ghost. Marcus picked up his janitor jacket and slipped it back on slowly, carefully, like a man putting on armor he didn't want to wear. But his silence, that was the loudest thing in the room. Coach Harris finally found his voice. "Marcus," he said softly, that technique, where did you learn?" Marcus didn't turn. He simply said, "Some skills are better forgotten." But nobody in the room wanted to forget. They wanted to understand. Darren, breathing hard, took a step forward. His voice cracked. "Wait, don't walk away. I need to know. How did you do all that? You moved like you already knew what I was going to do." Marcus finally turned around, eyes calm again. But deeper now, like someone holding stories that could break a man's soul. "It's not magic," he said. "It's experience." The room leaned in. Marcus looked at Darren, not angry, not proud, just tired. "When you've survived real fights," he continued, "tournaments feel like games. And games feel too easy." A chill went through everyone. Coach Harris whispered, "You were military?" Marcus shook his head. "No." Darren's voice softened. "You were a fighter? A professional?" "No," Marcus said again. "Then what were you?" A student asked. Marcus took a slow breath. His hands tightened around the mop handle, not in anger, but in memory. "I was a protector," he said. "A long time ago. Before life taught me that peace is the only real victory." Nobody understood what that meant, but they felt it. Deep. Darren stepped closer, guilt replacing his pride. "I shouldn't have challenged you like that," he said quietly. I thought you were just a janitor." Marcus gave a small, sad smile. "People see what they want to see." Those words hit harder than any punch Marcus had thrown. A student whispered, "Man, we really never knew him." But the room wasn't done. Fate wasn't done. Because just then, the gym door swung open and a man none of them had seen before walked in. Tall, broad shoulders, military posture, old scars across his cheek. He wore a dark jacket with no logos, no patches, but his presence filled the room like a storm. The coach froze. "Can we help you?" The man's eyes scanned the gym until they landed on Marcus. "Ray," he said. Marcus's body stiffened, a reaction so fast nobody missed it. Darren whispered, "He knows him." The stranger walked closer. "You really thought you could hide here? Mopping floors like you don't exist?" Marcus lowered his eyes but didn't back away. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. The stranger stopped only a few steps away. "We need you back," he said. "Something's happening. Something big. And we can't do it without you." The students looked at each other, confused, scared, excited. Marcus shook his head firmly. "No, I told you. I'm done with that life." The stranger's jaw tightened. "It's not a request. You know what's coming." Marcus's voice remained calm. "I'm not that person anymore." Darren whispered to a student, "Bro, what life is he talking about?" The stranger took a deep breath. Then he said the words that shattered the gym's understanding of who Marcus truly was. "You're not Marcus the janitor, you're Marcus Ray, the Ghost of Baltimore." The room exploded in gasps. Coach Harris stepped back. Students froze. Darren's mouth fell open. The stranger continued, "The man who ended fights before they even started. The man 5 gangs feared at once. The man trained to protect people when the world was burning. The man who saved lives and disappeared." Every heartbeat in the room stopped. Marcus closed his eyes, his face heavy with memories he didn't want to carry. Darren whispered, "So, you're a legend?" Marcus opened his eyes slowly. "No," he said softly. "I'm a man trying not to become one." Again, but fate wasn't finished with him. Stranger stepped closer and placed something small in Marcus's hand folded. "Paper. It's your brother," he said quietly. "He's in danger." Marcus's fingers tightened around the note, and the whole gym realized this fight was only the beginning. The real war was waiting outside. The gym felt like it had slipped into another World War, where a quiet janitor suddenly carried the weight of legends. Marcus stood still, holding the folded paper in his hand like it was something dangerous, something alive. The students watched him without blinking, waiting for him to speak, breathe, move anything, but Marcus didn't move. Not at first. The stranger, broad-shouldered, scar-faced, heavy with authority, crossed his arms, watching Marcus with a mix of frustration and respect. This wasn't a man used to being kept waiting. Darren swallowed hard. His brother's in danger? What does that mean? Coach Harris shook his head slowly, eyes never leaving Marcus. It means whatever life he left behind. It just caught up. Finally, Marcus unfolded the paper. His expression changed instantly. Not fear, not shock, but something sharper, like old instincts waking up from a long sleep. A student tried to peek, but Marcus closed the paper again, hiding the message. The stranger stepped closer. "We don't have much time, Ray." Marcus glared at him. "I told you to stop calling me that, but that's who you are." "No," Marcus replied. "That's who I was. I walked away from that life because it took everything from me." The stranger nodded. "I know, but your brother, he's missing, Marcus. And the people who took him." He stopped, scanning the room, choosing his next words carefully. "They know your name." The gym went dead silent again. Marcus's jaw tightened. Darren felt a chill run up his spine. For the first time since the spar, nobody was looking at Marcus with fear. They were looking at him with respect. Marcus slipped the folded paper into his jacket pocket. Then he turned to the stranger. "What do they want?" he asked, his voice low. "You," the stranger replied. "Alive or dead. They don't care which." Gasps filled the room. Marcus closed his eyes. He breathed once, slow, deep, controlled, when he opened them. He wasn't the janitor anymore. He wasn't the man mopping floors for minimum wage. He wasn't the man avoiding conflict or bowing his head to stay unnoticed. That he was someone else. Someone older. Someone sharper. Someone dangerous. Darren whispered to the coach. "Is this why he moved like that? Like he wasn't human?" Coach Harris whispered back, "No. Like someone trained to see weakness before it appears." Marcus looked at the stranger. "When did they take him?" "2 nights ago. Why didn't you call sooner?" "You disappeared, Marcus. You erased everything: phone, address, contacts. Took a job cleaning gyms in a city where nobody knew your face. It took a week just to find you." Marcus didn't defend himself. He didn't explain. He didn't apologize. Instead, he walked to the locker area and opened the only locker with a faded number. Inside was a small duffel bag. Students leaned forward. Darren stepped closer. The stranger watched quietly. Marcus opened the bag. Inside were gloves. Not gym gloves. Not training gloves. Combat gloves. Black, thick, worn at the knuckles. The kind of gloves that had seen too many nights. Marcus lifted them slowly. Like touching a piece of his past he swore never to touch again. "Please tell me," Darren whispered, "that he's not going back into that world." Marcus didn't look at him. He simply said, "If someone threatens my family, then they remember who I used to be." Darren took a step back, goosebumps rising on his skin. The stranger nodded. "So you'll come?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. He stared at the gloves in his hands, his eyes filled with something heavy: regret, anger, fear, all mixed into one expression a man wears only when he knows the road ahead might destroy him. Then he spoke. "I'll come. But we do this my way." The stranger nodded. "Then we move now." But before they left, something unexpected happened. Marcus turned to Darren. The black belt froze in place. "You," Marcus said. "Come with me." Darren shook his head fast. "Me? No, no. I'm not ready for whatever this is. Marcus stepped closer until they were face to face. You asked for a real challenge, Marcus said. Now life is giving you one. Darren swallowed hard, then whispered, What's happening? Marcus glanced at the gym door. War. And the first battle was waiting outside. The night outside the gym felt different, colder, heavier, like the darkness itself was holding its breath. Streetlights buzzed. The wind carried dust down the empty road. And in that strange, quiet moment, Marcus stepped out with Darren beside him, and the scar-faced stranger leading the way. Darren still couldn't believe what was happening. 1 hour ago, he was a proud black belt showing off in a gym. Now he was standing next to a man the underworld apparently feared, a man called the Ghost of Baltimore. The stranger, whose name was apparently Jonas, unlocked a black SUV, bulletproof, reinforced, the kind of vehicle that made Darren's stomach drop. Get in, Jonas said. Marcus climbed in without hesitation. Darren froze. This feels illegal, Darren whispered. Marcus looked back at him. Then stay behind. That snapped something inside Darren. No, I am coming. I've never done anything like this. You wanted to know who I am, Marcus said calmly. Now you will. Darren climbed in. Jonas started the engine. The doors locked automatically. The city passed by as they drove, neon lights glowing, cars flashing by, dark alleys flickering past the windows. Darren watched Marcus closely. The janitor who swept floors now sat like a man preparing for war. His shoulders relaxed, his breath steady, his eyes watching every reflection, every shadow, every corner. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't scared. He was calculating. Jonas handed Marcus a file. Darren leaned closer, but Marcus shot him a warning look. The file contained photos, grainy ones, of Marcus's brother, Daniel, bruised, tied to a chair, with 3 masked men in the background. Darren felt sick. Who are those guys? Jonas answered. A group calling themselves Crimson Lock. They're not a gang. They're not a crew. They're something worse. Marcus flipped to another photo, this one of a man with tattoos across his neck, a razor-thin smile carved into his face. Victor Hall, Jonas said. He's the one who wants you. He thinks taking your brother will bring you out. Marcus didn't blink, didn't flinch. His face tightened only slightly, like steel bending. Darren whispered, Why you? Why does he want you so bad? Marcus looked out the window, the passing lights flashing across his face. I put him away, Marcus said. And he remembers. Darren swallowed hard. The car rolled deeper into an older part of the city, a place where streetlights were broken and windows were boarded up. Jonas slowed the vehicle, eyes narrowing. Something's wrong, he muttered. Marcus straightened in his seat. What do you see? Jonas pointed ahead. On the road, 2 black motorcycles stood parked sideways, blocking the street. No riders, just engines ticking, still warm. A setup, a trap. Darren felt his heart slam against his ribs. We should drive back, right? Right? Jonas shook his head. They want us to. Marcus cracked his knuckles. Drive forward. Marcus, Jonas started. Drive. Jonas obeyed. The SUV approached the motorcycle slowly. Darren's breath shook. Why would they leave bikes like that? They're watching us. I can feel it. Marcus leaned slightly forward. They're here. A shadow moved in an alley. Then another. Then 2 more on the rooftop. Jonas cursed under his breath. They're surrounding us. Before Darren could speak, Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt and opened the door. Stay here, he ordered. Darren grabbed his arm. You can't fight them alone. Marcus looked at him with eyes that carried history, violence, and control. I'm not fighting, he said. I'm warning. Marcus stepped out of the SUV and shut the door behind him. The street went still. From the alleys, The masked men appeared 5, then 6, then 8 of them. All dressed in dark clothes, faces hidden, weapons glinting in the streetlight. Darren whispered, terrified, "He's surrounded." But Jonas shook his head slowly. "No. They're surrounded. They just don't know it yet." Marcus stood alone in the middle of the road calm. Relaxed, hands by his sides, the leader stepped forward. Swinging a metal chain, "You should have stayed hidden." "Ghost." Marcus didn't move, but his voice, low, controlled, cold, cut through the air like a knife. "Last chance. Walk away." The masked men laughed. "Big mistake. The real fight. The one that would show Darren the difference between a black belt and a living legend," was about to explode. The night turned deadly quiet, too quiet. 8 masked men closed in around Marcus, circling him like wolves hungry for a kill. Their footsteps echoed. Their chains, bats, and knives glinted under the dull streetlight. Inside the SUV, Darren's hands trembled on his knees. "Jonas, he's going to be killed. We have to help him." Jonas didn't blink. "Watch, don't blink. You'll never see something like this again." Darren stared through the windshield, heart racing, breath shaking. Marcus stood completely still. No stance, no guard up. Hands down, just waiting. The leader swung his chain first. Fast, deadly, straight toward Marcus's face. Darren gasped, but Marcus simply raised one hand and caught the chain mid-air. No fear, no flinch, just a catch. The leader froze. Time froze. Even the streetlight flickered like it didn't want to watch. Marcus pulled the chain, gently like pulling a thread, and the masked man stumbled forward. Marcus stepped aside. A soft movement. A whisper of motion. Then thud. The leader was face first on the ground, unconscious. The other 7 men hesitated, confused. Marcus didn't look at them. He rolled the chain into a neat loop and dropped it beside the fallen man. "Next," he said calmly. Another masked man rushed in with a knife. He lifted the blade high and brought it down. Marcus turned his body 1 inch. Just one. The knife sliced empty air before the attacker realized what happened. Marcus tapped him on the elbow with 2 fingers. Snap. The man screamed as his arm bent backward, the knife falling to the pavement. Marcus kicked it away, then swept the man's legs effortlessly, dropping him on his back. 2 down. Darren whispered, stunned, "How is he doing this?" "He's not even trying." Jonas nodded. "That's why they call him the Ghost. He doesn't fight the man, he fights the intention." 3 attackers charged at once. Marcus walked toward them, not ran. Not rushed. Walked. The first tried to punch Marcus's jaw. Marcus tilted his head. The punch missed. Marcus grabbed his wrist and twisted. The man collapsed. The second swung a bat. Marcus slid inside the arc of the swing, too close for the back to matter. He elbowed the man in the chest. Crack. The third jumped at Marcus from behind, a flying tackle. Marcus didn't turn. He simply lowered his weight. The attacker flew past him, hit the concrete, and didn't move. Darren's mouth dropped open. "This is impossible," he said quietly. "He's fighting 8 men. Like they're children." Jonas answered. He learned to read people the way soldiers read maps. Every motion, every breath, every mistake. The remaining 3 masked men stepped back, scared now. They looked at each other, unsure if they should run or try again. Marcus finally lifted his eyes to them. "You chose the wrong night," he said. The 3 rushed him in desperation. Marcus moved like smoke, a palm strike to the chest. One attacker flew backward, a knee to the stomach. Another gasped and dropped, a precise chop to the neck. The last one crumbled silently. 8 men, all unconscious. And Marcus, barely breathing hard. Darren stepped out of the SUV without realizing it. He walked toward Marcus slowly, eyes wide, voice trembling. You're not human." Marcus turned to him. "I'm human, he said softly. I just lived a life that took pieces of me. That line hit harder than any punch. Suddenly Jonas's phone buzzed. He checked it, face turning stone cold. They moved your brother, Jonas said. They're taking him to the docks, tonight. Marcus nodded slowly, wiping blood from his knuckles, though none of it was his. Then we end this tonight, Marcus said. No more running. Darren stepped forward. I'm with you. Marcus looked at him, really looked at him. As a fighter, Marcus said, you almost lost yourself today. Are you ready for something real? Darren swallowed hard. Yes. Marcus put a hand on his shoulder, then stay close. Watch everything. Learn everything. This world doesn't give second chances. Jonas started the SUV. Marcus turned toward Darren and said quietly, tonight, you'll understand why I was called the Ghost. They got in the car. The engine rumbled. The road to the docks waited in the darkness. And the final battle was waiting there too. The SUV rolled through the empty streets until the city faded behind them and the cold, metallic smell of the docks filled the air. Cargo containers stacked like giant tombs, rusted cranes, flickering lamps, black water slapping against wooden posts, a place where no one should be at night, a place where danger breathes. As the SUV slowed down, Jonas pointed toward a warehouse with shattered windows and a faint light leaking out. They're inside, Jonas said quietly. Victor Halle. And your brother. Marcus stared at the warehouse. His jaw clenched. His breath slowed. His entire body changed, like a shadow stepping back into the world it once ruled. Darren felt the air grow heavier. This place. It feels wrong. Marcus nodded. It should. Jonas reached for the glove compartment and handed Marcus a small earpiece. You remember the plan? Marcus smirked faintly. Plans never survive first contact. Jonas didn't argue because he knew it was true. They approached the warehouse on foot. Metal groaned under their steps. A cold wind howled through cracks in the walls. Inside, voices echoed. Men laughing. Men shouting. Men waiting for violence. Marcus raised a hand signaling Darren to stop. Listen, Marcus whispered. From inside the warehouse came a familiar voice. Daniel. Marcus's brother. But he wasn't talking. He was yelling in pain. Darren's heart dropped. Marcus. They're hurting him. Marcus's eyes darkened. They want me to rush in. It's a trap, Darren whispered. So what do we do? Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, the calm before the storm. Then he opened them. We break the trap. He placed both hands on the warehouse door, and without hesitation, slammed it open. The noise blasted through the building. Inside, 15 masked men turned instantly, startled. Daniel was tied to a metal chair at the center, bruised and barely conscious, and standing beside him, with a knife lazily spinning in his hand, was Victor Halle. Tall, tattoos crawling up his neck, eyes cold like frostbite. He smiled when he saw Marcus. There he is, Victor said. The Ghost himself. I was getting bored. Marcus stepped inside, shoulders relaxed, eyes locked on Victor. You made a mistake, Marcus said calmly. You touched my brother. Victor laughed. You vanished for years, Marcus. People said you were dead. Peaceful. Weak. He pointed the knife toward Daniel. So I decided to remind you who you really are. Marcus's face didn't move. But Darren felt the temperature shift. Jonas whispered from behind. This is it. Victor spread his arms. You think you can fight all of us alone? Marcus didn't answer. He simply said, I didn't come alone. At that exact moment, a loud crash erupted behind Victor's men. Jonas had burst through the back with a metal pipe, taking down 2 men instantly. Chaos exploded. Victor shouted, Get them! The warehouse filled with motion, shouts, footsteps, fists. Weapons swinging. Marcus moved through the attackers like a storm made of shadows. A punch flew at him. He sidestepped. A knife slashed. He redirected the wrist. A baseball bat swung. He stepped inside the arc and dropped the man with a palm strike. Every movement was precise. Every step silent. Every strike final. Darren, terrified but determined, grabbed a fallen pipe and fought two attackers, his hands shaking, but his feet steady. Marcus shouted, "Darren left!" Darren turned just in time and blocked a punch, surprising even himself. He swung the pipe. His attacker collapsed. For the first time, Darren felt something new, not fear, not pride, but purpose. But the real danger remained. Victor Hawley charged at Marcus with the knife. Their collision felt like two worlds smashing together. Victor slashed wildly. Marcus dodged cleanly. Victor stabbed forward. Marcus grabbed his wrist and twisted. Clang! The knife hit the floor. Victor roared in anger and threw punches. Marcus caught one, then another, then bam! A strike to Victor's ribs. He gasped. Another strike to his jaw. He stumbled. One final strike, a precise, controlled, devastating blow to the throat. Victor collapsed to his knees, coughing. Defeated. Marcus grabbed him by the collar. "You hurt my family," he whispered. "This is mercy." Marcus let him fall unconscious. The warehouse went quiet except for Daniel's weak breathing. Marcus rushed to him. Untying the ropes. Daniel whispered, voice shaking, "You came for me. After all these years." Marcus hugged him tight. "I never stopped being your brother." Jonas checked the door. "Police will be here soon." Someone must have called. Darren stood beside Marcus, heart pounding, body shaking, but proud. "You really are a ghost," Darren said. Marcus smiled for the first time that night. "No," he said. "I'm a man who remembers what matters." They walked into the cold night together, the war over, the legend reborn, and a new story ready to begin, because once a ghost returns, he never disappears again.